COE prices just seem to be going up, up, and up. They are so high now that a lot of us are asking ourselves, will we ever be able to fork out the cash just to buy a car? So, on the one hand, there's a desire to have your own car. On the other, Singapore is pushing for us to use our cars less frequently. How can Singapore balance higher car ownership and being car-lite? Let's get to the point with Christopher Tan. First up, Chris, we've got to talk about the crazy car prices. What is driving the insanity?
Well, when you distill it down, it's supply and demand, right? Demand will always be there. I mean, people will always want and aspire to own a car. On the supply side, we've had the COE system, which is a vehicle quota system, since 1990. But in 2018, something very dramatic changed. We introduced zero growth policy. That means the car numbers cannot grow from there on. What do you think happens? There will be pressure on prices. And I think we are starting to see that. 2018, now it's 2023, after the pandemic, everything is returned. Economic activity has returned. People have come back to Singapore to work, So what happens? We are beginning to see the effects of this zero growth policy.
Are there other ways to manage the demand and supply of COEs that should help stabilize the prices?
Yeah, price stability, I think you hit the nail on the head. Right now, our supply cycle is very, very lumpy. It's a feast and famine situation. Every 10 years, we see a feast or we see a famine. At this point in time, we are at the famine part of the cycle, and which is why you are seeing COE prices going through the roof. For price stability, try and even out the supply. A simplistic way of doing that would be to take the population of the cars we have here, which is around 650,000, roughly divided by 10, and then you have 65,000 pieces of COE a year. And every year you will have that number, and therefore there will be some stability from the supply side.
It's clear the government wants to take us down that path of becoming car-lite. Now, these crazy prices, is this really the best way to put off drivers from owning a car?
It's not only not the best way, but it's actually counterproductive. Because having spent 150,000, 200,000 on a car, what do people do? They use it to the hilt. They use it they maximize their usage. And after all, our usage cost is so low. It's less than 1/3 of the total ownership cost. So what we need to do, of course, is to shift some of that cost over to the usage part. Try and lower the upfront cost, move some of the cost to usage. And this was actually envisioned in the 1990s. We wanted to do that, but somehow we, forgot about it, or we dropped the ball somewhere. One way to do it, of course, is to introduce ERP2, which is a distance-based charging format, which makes people think and can shift behavior and lead to a more judicious usage of cars, of driving. After all, car-lite is not really just about having a small car population. It's really about using the car less and avoiding congestion, avoiding the time spent on the road, avoiding the pollution attached to it.
Well, great insights as always. Thank you, Chris.